Hello and welcome to Mickeyology, where we take Disney a little too seriously. I'm Austin Rathall. Did you know Disney released a Beauty and the Beast sequel book set during the French Revolution? It's called Rebel Rose, and this is my book review. Rebel Rose is the first book in Disney's historical fiction series, The Queen's Counsel. Each installment tells the story of a different Disney princess and her adventures as a young ruler. The first 3 books focus on Belle, Mulan, and Jasmine, with a 4th book about Aurora scheduled for release in September. Now, if you're a fan of this channel, then I'm guessing you'd probably be interested in this series. When I found out this series existed, I knew I had to check it out, and I was particularly excited about Book 1, because I love the French Revolution, and the idea of setting a Beauty and the Beast sequel during that era is an awesome idea. Think about all the questions that you could explore. Would Belle and the Beast have to face the guillotine because they're nobility? Would the Beast's servants side with the common people against their master and turn against him, or would they remain loyal? And what would Belle think about people like Marie Antoinette or Robespierre? Unfortunately, this book does not explore any of that. The story begins in July 1789. Belle is now married to the Beast, whose real name is Leo, and they leave their home kingdom of Aveyron to visit Paris. They meet many of the Parisian elite, including the slick and aristocratic Bastien. When peasants storm the Bastille, kicking off the French Revolution, Belle and Leo leave with Bastien back to Aveyron, and Bastien becomes one of Leo's advisors. Those advisors soon decide to secede from France and crown Leo king. King Leo then leaves to tour his kingdom, leaving Belle behind at the castle. Belle plans reforms to help her people and prevent the kind of violence she saw in Paris from spreading into Aveyron. However, she soon realizes that there are plots a-brewing. The citizens resent their new king, Leo's advisors don't take Belle seriously, and it's becoming harder and harder for Belle to know whom to trust. However, the enchantress who cursed Leo visits Belle and tells her if she doesn't take charge soon, then revolution will consume her kingdom. This is author Emeterio's debut novel, and it shows. However, this project did pose 3 massive challenges. It had to serve as a sequel to one of the most beloved animated movies ever, it had to successfully launch a new book series for Disney, and it had to use one of the most important and complex events in world history as its setting. Even for a seasoned author, taking on one of those challenges would require guts, let alone doing all 3 in a debut work. Also, Emeterio has done something that I've never done, which is successfully publish a novel, and a Disney novel at that. So while I was not a huge fan of the story, hats off to the author for taking on such a daunting challenge. However, the writing is wordy and slow. The vast majority of scenes involve characters simply in a room talking to each other. It's heavy on dialogue and light on action. Another problem is the book doesn't seem to know who its audience is. There's scattered profanity and violence, and lots of political intrigue, which I would think would put off younger readers who want a traditional, light Disney princess story. But the overall plot is so tame and slow that it's not going to satisfy older readers who want a darker, grittier Disney princess story. If you like a lot of history in your historical fiction, then you're also probably going to be disappointed, because even though this book takes place during the French Revolution, Belle only witnesses one event from that revolution, the storming of the Bastille. The characters hear about a few other events later on, but the revolution itself happens almost entirely off stage. The focus is instead put on the fictional kingdom of Aveyron and its secession, which didn't feel very accurate to me. There were secessionist movements during the French Revolution, but it was mostly other countries' territories seceding to join France. There were some territories who rebelled against France's new revolutionary government, like Haiti and the Vendée region, but they did so violently. I couldn't find any record of any territory in France that peacefully broke away during the revolution. However, the book does feature some aspects of real 18th century French culture, like Enlightenment salons, a frivolous aristocracy, and tensions between the upper and lower classes. As for the characters, the new ones are much more well-developed than the old ones. Belle's new friend Marguerite is very well written and well developed, and Aurella the Enchantress, who was just a simple plot device in the original story, gets her own motivation and backstory here, which is really nice. By far the best character in the book is Bastien. He is a slippery, smooth-talking politician who feels like he could really exist and take power in the real world. He is a worthy successor to Gaston, but I think his intelligence and charisma make him even more threatening than Gaston was. Besides Belle and the Beast, though, hardly any characters from the original story play any role in this one at all. Mrs. Potts has a few conversations with Belle, LeFou shows up later on in the story, but other than that, the original characters are sidelined if they appear at all. As for LeFou, he is introduced to the story so late, and so much information is shared about his motivation and backstory so late in the story that his resolution as a character felt very unearned and jarring to me. What's frustrating about this isn't just that we're deprived of the nostalgia of spending time with these characters that we know and love, but it seems that characters who should be important to Belle aren't anymore. She spends a lot of this story feeling isolated and alone in the castle, but that's where she was at the beginning of the movie, and now she's gone through a whole adventure with these servants, battling for the castle, breaking the curse, and you would think that she'd be confiding in them more than she does. Instead, she confides a little bit in Mrs. Potts, but then she spends most of her time befriending and talking with Marguerite, who is a fine character, but she hasn't gone through the same ordeal with Belle that people like Lumiere or Madame Garderobe have, and so it's a little confusing why Belle would turn to this newcomer rather than consulting more and taking more solace in her old friends from the film. The plot develops slowly, but it does build momentum. However, Belle solves her problems in the end so easily that it felt more like an anticlimax. At one point, Belle is being held at gunpoint, and in the span of one brief conversation, she manages to convince her attacker not only to spare her life, but to become her ally. Then she has to find an item in a short span of time that should be impossible to locate, but a little convenient magic happens and she finds it with no problem. There is a brief final battle at the end, but that battle happens off stage, so there's a whole lot of build-up and very little payoff. On the plus side, the book does have a message of female empowerment, and it demonstrates that when decent people don't step up and take power and use that power for good, then others will step up, take that power, and use it for evil. I came to Rebel Rose with very high expectations, and I realize I am not in the book's target YA audience. Still, with such a great premise and such a rich era of history to draw from, I do think Disney could have delivered a better story than they did. I am giving Rebel Rose a 2 out of 5 possible roses. But now it's your turn. My opinion is not the right opinion, so let me know in the comments if you're planning on reading Rebel Rose, and if you have read it, what you thought of the story. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss another video, and as always, thank you very much for watching. I will see you next time.